Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Bondy Blue and I am back for another marriage bootcamp hip hop edition / Waka and Tammy with the Flocka. Or whatever the show is called, child. I cannot with them in these names. Okay, so the episode started off with everybody waking up the next morning. It's just day 8 that they're entering. And you see Stu and Michelle having this very serious conversation in the bed. And the conversation leads to Stu having some tears and some real emotion going on. And I've been, talking to Stu online and I'm waiting for him to get back to me about, what exactly are we crying about? Because I feel like the way they edited the scene together, I wasn't really sure what they were talking about. But I did hear the part about michel'le not being used to love, actually being more used to abuse and seeing love as abuse. So her concept of what a healthy relationship is very skewed, which makes it hard for her to be in a relationship with Stu because Stu is a good guy. But Stu also has this very scary thing about him, the ability to smile while on the inside you are completely uncomfortable or in some type of turmoil or pain, but you smile and you joke and you play the jester. And there is a lot of secrecy of emotion behind that. So that is kind of scary to me and worrisome about Stu. But now that we're getting more of Stu's backstory this episode, I understand why Stu was so defensive about, the cocaine comment. Like, don't get upset about it, okay? We assume that most people that do reality shows do cocaine, okay? It's just something that we've noticed over the years, okay? I did not know your background about your daddy being, on dope and everything and how that transpired. That was so sad to hear him talk about his dad. I mean, first of all, you're not even dealing with the fact that he was absent, okay? But you tag on him dying, of AIDS complications and then not being found until 9 days later. Like, Stu has gone through a lot of terrible things in his life. And it is a test to his mental strength, his emotional strength, I guess. The fact that he is still here, he's still standing, he's still strong, on some Antoine Fisher type shit. And I'm happy about that because Stu does seem like a good guy. But Stu has some underlying stuff that's just very scary to me. And that's just something that I've picked up off of. And I think that is something that michel'le is attracted to in him. The I don't know whether I might get slapped aura. Not saying that he would do that. But him hiding who he is or hiding his emotion leaves like an area of uncomfortability for me. Like, you don't know where he could go with it because you never know what he's truly feeling. You know what I'm saying? Is it just me that feels that way about Stu a little bit? It could just be me. But I really had a chance to think about it more this episode because this episode was basically like delving into everybody's like childhoods and what has caused the trauma that they have grown with and kind of made it a part of their person. Everybody's walking around carrying whatever harm was done to them as children. So that's what we see this episode. CeeLo and Shaunie had an argument the night before. We saw that. And then the next day they act as if nothing happened. This seems to be something they do a lot. They just kind of push everything under the rug and keep it going until something else comes up or the same issue comes up, and they do the same thing all over again. CeeLo doesn't like conflict, which is very surprising to me because of the way he talks so reckless out of his mouth about women. Him not wanting conflict, I guess, is an extension of that. I don't want to hear words out of a woman's mouth that are too harsh. I don't want to feel like she's talking to me like a man because I'm used to men talking harsh, but women, I need to feel love, But it's still misogynistic to me, like that mindset. But I do understand how that is linked to him not feeling safe. CeeLo has a whole thing. Like, he didn't really delve into his situation, but something tells me that CeeLo's childhood was not the best. Something about the way he was talking about his childhood just made me feel like they were purposefully keeping something out of the equation. Joseline is still having a hard time with, baby Bonnie Bella being with Stevie. And Ballistic is being, I don't know whether I want to call him Rob or Ballistic, but never mind. Okay. Her man is being very supportive right now. And I really enjoy them as a couple. And you guys, Joseline has been like, ever since she got past that situation with Bianca, she has been such a breath of fresh air on this show because she has been so down for the process. And I just love watching her figure things out about herself and really be truthful and honest with her emotions, not acting, not putting on for people. There's a sweetness about Joseline that I feel like I just only saw in this show. Okay, because what I feel like I saw with Stevie was more of a sexual manipulation, and that's another thing we got into as it pertains to Joseline and how she feels as if she was taught by her own mom that her life is a transaction. Her womanhood is a transaction. You know, everything is, oh, I can give you some of this cookie and you're going to give me some of that money or that opportunity or whatever. And it's something that her mom taught her. It's something that her mom profited off of. So to feel like there's no woman in your life that you can feel safe with, and you can't feel safe with your own mom, it is definitely like a mirror, you know, up to Joseline's face as to why she doesn't get along with other women in her life. Specifically the girls that, you know, Love and Hip Hop Atlanta that she's always talking about, picked on her and called her all types of names. And it's like, yeah, they probably did judge you, but they judge you because you was sleeping with their friend's man. I mean, like a judgment is the least of it. You know what I'm saying? But I definitely understand Joseline a little bit more after watching her on this show. Bianca that morning talked to the group about how she never had to listen to anybody when she was growing up because she was rich at 15. And I think that stunted her growth. And that is why she is so immature. Not only because she became rich at a young age, but also because she has a mindset that she doesn't need to listen to anybody. Which I feel, y'all, that is so exhausting for young women or period, people period, to feel as if there is nothing left to learn from someone else. That is so sad to me. You can never know everything. Nobody knows everything about everything. And there's always something to learn in this life until the day you die, and then you learn what it's like to die. So I just kind of feel like there is always something to be learned in this life, and to take an attitude at such a young age that there's nothing that you can be told or nothing that you can learn from anybody else. I think that you yourself are at a loss for that decision. Okay, I feel like you have suffered as a young woman in your life because you refuse to close your mouth and listen. Dr. Ish calls michel'le in to talk to her while Stu talks to the rest of the people in the house. Style sees Dre and Suge Knight, the two main men in michel'le's life, as these very strong men in the industry. And when he described them as being strong, a part of me like rejected that. Like, I was like, in all honesty, there's something very minuscule about those very big, strong, muscular men that would make them want to put their hands on a woman. I don't know what type of strong man you think you are, where you put your hands on a woman who is not only a woman, but much smaller and way less, you know, strong than you. And you put your hands on her and beat her and disrespect her. And michel'le has had to deal with things like waking women up out of her own bed because they just have no respect for her whatsoever. And because of michel'le's childhood, she felt like that was acceptable, especially if she was getting fame and money and comfortability out the situation. Why not deal with all kinds of abuse? That's what my mama did, you know? So I just think it's so sad to see how everybody has kind of stuck with the negatives from their childhood in such a strong way. michel'le really has to learn how to receive love, something she is really not familiar with and is really uncomfortable with receiving it from Stu. So the first exercise of the day was everybody being tasked with drawing a tattoo, which showed a happy memory and a sad memory. Child, Joseline said, I don't have any happy memories. I said, child, that is some sad. You mean to tell me you don't have a happy memory from your childhood? I mean, not a time you got a purse, a bag, or, you know, nothing that you wanted as a child. You know, I don't know what Joseline liked as a child. She grew up fast. You know what I'm saying? But damn, not one good moment. That's sad to me. That's so sad to me. And she might have been, you know, exaggerating, but just the fact that that's something that came out of her mouth, it just really gives you perspective. And, you know, I always feel blessed for growing up the way I did. It wasn't like the easiest childhood or anything, but it also wasn't the worst, the hardest. I was comfortable. I was taken care of. I was protected. And when you see that people really don't grow up with that, like talking about it, it really gives you perspective on how people see things differently when they really don't know better. They don't know better because they didn't see better. And that's why I used to always try to give Joseline the benefit of the doubt, because you just know she came from nothing. Okay, nothing blindness, just ignorance of the mind and spirit to instill, sexuality as a bargaining tool to a child. You know what I'm saying? Like the type of woman you have to be in order to instill that in your child. Joseline's mama, I still think it is such an incredible feat to watch Joseline be what her mother couldn't be for her. That is amazing to watch. After everybody does their tattoos, Adjua goes first, and she talks about the man who molested her as a child and who also took pictures of her around the ages of 5 through 7. And how her father was a protector in her life, and how she ended up marrying a man like her father, Styles P, a very protective, loving person. Like, Styles P is just so amazing to me. Like, he's another one of those people that I love the more I watch them. Like, him and Adjua's relationship is so, special to me. Like, to watch how it's transformed over the years. But them individually, like, wow, you know what I'm saying? Just amazing people. Styles was also beaten by his stepfather as a kid, and I mean beaten until he saw blood, so that's a lot. CeeLo was spit on by some white kid as a child, and it woke up something inside of him that I think that CeeLo had some issues at home growing up that he doesn't want to talk about, and he keep focusing on this little white boy that spit on him, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, that's a turning point in your life, but there had to be something before that made you feel other. You can tell that CeeLo felt strange as a young kid, and he was talking about all this love he had to give and nowhere to give it. To me, that sounds like a motherless boy, or something. Somebody's not receiving enough hugs at home. That's what that sounded like to me. And then when he said he wanted to show people how strange he could be, since that's what they saw when they looked at him, I'm gonna show you how strange I can be. That right there, y'all, that made me think about people who I feel like do the most, like, in their shows or, in their persona or whatever. I think that is genius how they explained that when people have personalities like that, that's really their defense mechanism. It kind of made me soften up to CeeLo a little bit more, even though I don't like the way he talks to Shaunie. I don't like the way he thinks of women. But I also feel like that's probably also an extension of some mommy issues that CeeLo isn't talking about. But, whatever. What do I know? Shaunie talks about her mom, who wasn't really around for her a lot when she was young, because she had a younger sister that passed away, and after that her mom kind of tapped out. And she said she can remember sitting there watching the street for hours expecting her mom to come home, and she didn't. Eventually she did, and Shaunie and her mom have a good relationship at this point in her life, but back then it was very detrimental to her, growing up, to not have her mom present for her the way she needed. So for her, I think there's been a lot of her taking care of her mom, or taking care of herself, and feeling like as long as she can take care of everything, then everything can be under control. And that plays a part in she and CeeLo's relationship, definitely. Stu talks about his dad. Like I told y'all, his dad was on dope, and his dad caught HIV from intravenous drug use. And when he missed a treatment or two, they went to his house to check on him, and he had been decomposing very badly for 9 days, and Stu could never see him again or say goodbye the way he wanted to, and that always haunted him. And Stu tried to make a joke, and Dr. Ish was like, don't make a joke, Stu. Like, it's okay for you to be sad. It's okay for this to be uncomfortable. You don't have to smile and make everybody laugh in order to make them like you. And that's another defense mechanism. Stu smiling and trying to joke even when things are sad and really uncomfortable. He really needs to start, if he hasn't started doing it already. If you feel a certain way, feel that way. Don't show me nothing different than what you actually feeling in this moment, because that's scary. I don't know if he realizes that, but somebody that can't be true in their emotions when they feel them is just very off kilter to people like myself who are very true to their emotions. It's scary to me, because it's like, what can you hide behind your eyes if you can hide your pain like that? You know what I'm saying? That's just what I think about. Chose, with his little young self, talks about the great pain in his life. Chose was supposed to be a football player, and he ruined his knee, and he couldn't walk for a year. And he always thought he was going to be famous and rich and special from playing ball. And that was taken away from him. And he had to find another way to take care of himself. So now he's doing music, and that's been an outlet for him. But I also think that the fear of not being able to become what he thought he was going to become has him in this relationship with Bianca. I think that a part of him that goes back to Bianca, it's not just the push and pull and she's beautiful and whatever they do in the bedroom with one another. He's young. I think it's also about what she can offer him and how he needs his face and his name put out there. And she already has that. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's so unfortunate the way he almost looks down on her and judges her and, you know, talks about the other girl, the white girl, like, oh, she doesn't stress me out. She doesn't give me anxiety the way you do. And it's like, well, you probably haven't hurt her the way you've hurt Bianca. And also, I hate when people compare the way white girls and black girls compute things. First of all, our experiences in this world are not the same at all. At all. Especially not for Bianca. Because Bianca is a brown skinned girl. She's not light. You know what I'm saying? She's not any stretch of the imagination lighter complected. So her experience is that of a black girl. Okay? And the comparison for her to be some docile, sweet, you know, calm, not stressful white girl. Like, she can't be that because she was not bred in that. She was not given that. That is not her experience. That is not her identity. And how dare you ask that of her? How dare you compare her to that girl and what that girl can provide for you? That girl probably comes from a way more stable household. That girl probably hasn't accomplished as much in her life either as Bianca has. Probably hasn't made as much money on her own, and probably can't do shit for your career the way Bianca can at this point. But you're going to keep making her feel less than because she stresses you out. Child, he works on my nerves. But I did feel bad for him when he talked about losing his dream. I understood that. Bianca talks about never feeling love. And she says that, you know, her mom worked a lot and she was passed around from family member to family member. And some of them were physically abusive to her in a way that was not okay. I just always felt like it's better to be in a situation where I got it and I don't really need anybody else's help, because I would be distraught if somebody did something to my child because I entrusted my child with them. You know what I'm saying? So I think about those things, and I feel like women should really think about those things. You know, people, period, should think about those things. It's like they don't care about that. You know, everybody raises children, so everybody can. I say no, but everybody don't raise successful, you know, balanced, emotionally stable adults. Like, everybody don't raise those, and those are the ones we need. Joseline talks about, you know, being molested. Okay, somebody else that wasn't taken care of, that wasn't looked after the way she should have been, and somebody took something from her that she would never get back. That's why Joseline sees her sexuality as one of the only things she has to offer. It's also the reason why she deals with all of her relationships like transactions. You know, if Ballistics can't marry her, then they can't be together. Like, you know, it's an ultimatum, but it's also a transaction. You give me something, I give you something. That's not how relationships work all the time. Like, one of the main things about a real relationship is giving sometimes when you're not getting anything in return. Ballistics talks about when he was like 11 years old and he found his grandmother after she'd had a stroke. And a few days later, she died. And she was the only person that really looked after him. So that was very difficult for him. And he had his brother looking after him. But then his brother got arrested. And he started to hang around with his brother's friends who were in a gang. And boom, bow, pow. You know, you got another young man out here in the world acting reckless, not caring about anything because he doesn't have anybody caring about him. After the exercise, everybody kind of talks amongst themselves. And one of the main conversations was Bianca and Chose having this conversation where Bianca is telling him, I feel like you always have your foot out the door. And him not realizing that it's not that y'all are in a cycle that she won't let y'all get out of. It's that you never lull her ache. You never speak speak to what is bothering her. You always let her spin in uncertainty and then circle back around to it later. Like, you never tell her that you're gonna leave the other girl alone. You never say that you're gonna try to make it work with her and it's only gonna be her. You never validate what she needs from you. So of course it's gonna come back around. He needs to take some responsibility for his part in the cycle that they go through, instead of always trying to toss the blame on her because everybody sees her as the, crazy angry black girl. Like, so then they have the part where the kids come and act out each person's life, and it shows the adult what they look like as a child, saying the things that they've grown up to feel and how not right it is. When it's your situation, it doesn't feel the same. But when you see a child saying some of the things that you grew up feeling and saying, you understand how bad it is. You know what I'm saying? But it has to be shown to you in that way for you to get it. So Lil CeeLo and Lil Shaunie come out first. And he talks about how he always felt different. And like I said, he leaned into his differentness and kind of made a defense mechanism out of it, to the point where he doesn't know who he really is anymore because he's always trying to put on a front. And that's something that I do see, the insecurity in CeeLo. Shaunie is constantly trying to keep things organized and under control. And it's almost as if things are organized and under control, then there's no room for pain. And that's not the case, So she has to learn how to let go of that, because you can't control everything. And he needs to learn how to be true to what his emotions are. Like, if you're sad, CeeLo, be sad. Don't jump right into defense mechanism. But like I said, there's something about CeeLo's childhood that they're not talking about, because CeeLo was boohoo crying most of the time. But the main thing is that Shaunie and CeeLo can learn from one another, because their ways of coping can help the other person. Little Joseline comes out and talks about her mom being the one to show her how to sell herself. Ballistic comes out and tells Dr. Ish that he got involved with a gang after his grandma died, and F Dr. Ish because he doesn't know what he's talking about when Dr. Ish was telling him maybe he needed to choose another route. So it shows you how defensive and angry Ballistic grew up after his grandmother died. He felt like he didn't need anyone. That's not true at all. And for children to feel like that, that's just ridiculous, because as an adult, I know I need people. Like, I need people. Joseline was talking about how looking at the little girl really made her feel like she needed to be better for her daughter. And I'm like, Joseline, I think that you're going to be great for your daughter. I think emotionally, that's what you were talking about, because I think she's already been a better mother than her mother probably was to her. But emotionally and mentally being supportive to a child when it's something that you were never given or taught is a very special thing. And I feel like that's the type of mother Joseline is going to be. I really love seeing her in this process. Lil Bianca comes out and says that no one loves her. Shut up. Don't nobody love me. You ain't about to punk me and tell me, what I'm saying? It's just real angry. Chose came out and talked about how he depended on being a star. And Bianca wishes that someone would have told her that people would love her. And if the people in her family aren't that, she'll find that eventually, because she really grew up feeling like she only had her brother. And once he was gone, she felt like she was alone out here. It's probably a lot more to all of their childhoods than, what they were talking about. But Bianca and CeeLo specifically felt like there was more hidden or more not talked about, in their childhoods. Lil Styles comes out and talks about his stepdad abusing him and his mother, and how he left the house to go sell crack because he couldn't be dependent upon no stepdaddy that was beating him. Lil Adjua comes out and says that after she was molested, she turned into a rebellious child that used to get into a lot of fights and get arrested and all of that type of stuff. And Styles has to learn to forgive himself for the person that he was back then. He's grown so much, but a lot of the times he's still holding himself hostage for the person that he once was. He needed to see that he turned the negative into a positive, and it's all good. And if you don't know, now you know, nigga. You know very well whose you are. One who holds you down. Reach for the stars. You've had a few, but not that many. Oh, wait, no, I just went into the original song. Juicy fruit. Juicy. Never mind, y'all. Anyway, Lil Stu comes out and he talks about how his grandpa beat his grandmother before she was killed. Lord, Violence. Lil Michel'le comes out and talks about how stupid her mom was for being abused again, and how back in the day she used to turn on the music. She said that when they were doing the tattoos, that she used to turn on the music real loud when her dad was beating her mom, and it was kind of like a beautiful thing for her, you know, the fact that she would just turn the music up and let the music kind of, you know, I guess consume her mind instead of thinking about what was going on in her household. Michel'le says that it sounded crazy coming out of that little girl's mouth, and she understands how crazy it sounds coming out of her mouth. And she says, you know, had I asked for advice, I could have saved myself from 40 years of torture. And I'm just like, Bianca, listen to Michel'le, because she's telling you, okay, you are basically baby Michel'le out this bitch. Stu talks about how that wasn't even the only thing. You know, at one point, Stu lost 30 of his friends in one summer. Damn. I'm sure it was probably drugs and gun violence. That's too much, y'all. He says that at one point he was kidnapped, you know, and beaten half to death. Like, Stu has been through a lot of things. And yeah, Stu need a hug. And that was also something that bothered me when I saw him and Michel'le having their interaction. After they had went through all of the, you know, exercises that day, everybody's emotionally spent, and they should have been trying to hug up and love up on one another. And instead, Michel'le is still with this wall up. And I understand how Stu feels now. Because it's like, how am I supposed to get this person to take their wall down with me if they never do it? You know what I'm saying? And the way he knows how to deal with things is to make a joke about it. And she laughs and they think they're getting along, but the issue still remains. So I feel like I understood Stu a little bit more this episode. He had to pat himself on the back for not doing drugs or ODing or, you know, whatever else could have happened to him had he let all of the pain in his life consume him. So yeah, Stu. All right, like don't feel like that, Stu. Okay, like, you know, we worried. We like you. We worried. That's all. You know, we was wondering. We ain't know. We know now. My bad, Stu. Pat on the back for Stu, y'all. Just grandma pat for Stu. Because Michel'le needed to give Stu a fucking hug and she didn't. Okay? Like, they supposed to have lie detector test the next day. That night, Bianca wants to know if Choses has ever been, you know, faithful to her when they were together. And he's like, damn, save it for tomorrow. And she's like, no, I want to know now. And then Stu tells Michel'le that he feels that she's being cold and she's still being guarded and doesn't want to start this new narrative. And I was like, what the hell does that mean, Michel'le? What does that mean? It almost feels like you've made a badge of honor out of your victimhood. And I don't know how to deal with that. Like, I don't know how to deal with people that want to swim in self-pity their entire lives. Like, I know people like that. I have people like that in my family. And it's so difficult for me to deal with them because I don't understand how you can keep swimming in that shit. Like, at some point, you need to press. Move on. You need to get up out of that. Let it go. Life happens to everybody. You know what I'm saying? So and some things happen worse to people than others, but at the end of the day, you still alive. You still here. You still strong. Okay? Antoine Fisher shit. Like, pull it together. Like, oh my God. Anyway, y'all. Stu is now questioning whether he should have ever came on the show with Michel'le. Say it ruined their relationship. And that's when I feel like we got to see that their relationship was real. Because he was actually hurt from feeling like being on the show ruined their relationship. I'm like, if being honest and showing each other who y'all truly are makes y'all relationship worse, then y'all wasn't supposed to be together anyway. Y'all were just two ships passing in the night. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to Waka and Tammy, y'all. I'm spent with marriage boot camp. I felt like I talked about it forever. So, y'all, Tammy has to cancel a recording session. Y'all know last time she was recording all of her album, they had some type of power outage that rewired the circuit breaker, messed something up, and it corrupted the file. So now they have to go back in the studio to re-record her songs, and they don't have backups of it, so they don't know how it sounds, and she has to recreate it, and it's stressful, and she already has, you know, the home issue. Waka is doing his own thing. She has to worry about Charlie, and, you know, she's being smart aleck and, you know, being an irresponsible teenager. That's a lot to deal with. She's got Deb and her mama wanting her to have a baby. She has her businesses. Like, Tammy has a lot on her plate right now. And I feel like her family takes the attitude with her of, oh, you have a lot on your plate? Oh, well, you put all of this on your plate, so I guess you better deal with it. And it's like, I don't think anybody goes into being a wife, a mother, and an entrepreneur, artist. I don't think anybody goes into that feeling like I'm not gonna be able to handle all of this. No, they see other people do it and they think, you know what, I can do it. And it just takes a lot of organization. It just takes a lot of organization and a lot of help. Okay. And I feel like Tammy doesn't have a lot of organization or help, because the fact that she doesn't know certain things that's going on with her daughter, like her daughter doesn't have transportation, she hasn't went to work, that's a lack of organization on your part. And you need to get that together and you need to get you some help. But I also feel like when you have a husband that is another child, okay, and thinks just because he's paying for shit and he's, over you at the record label, that he can just talk to you any type of way, even though when y'all are at home, he's still acting like one of the children, because he doesn't want to stick to the punishments with your daughter. And, he doesn't want to be a disciplinarian. But then he's sitting up there at therapy talking about he been telling Tammy that she needed to discipline Charlie. It's like, but why when she tries to punish her, don't you stick to the punishment? Oh, because he wasn't there when the punishment happened. I said, Waka. Waka is one of the smartest, stupid people that I've ever seen in my life, because he does have these very brilliant moments. But I think those brilliant moments make him think he always has it right, and he doesn't. He doesn't always have it right. And he just be talking out of his ass sometimes. And the people around him let him talk out of his ass. Like he even said at one point, people are always trying to give me advice, but I've made it thus far, so I should just listen to myself. And it's like, yeah, but you didn't get this far from just listening to yourself, dummy. You got this far because your mom helped you and because you had other people in your life that were also, instrumental in Waka Flocka becoming Waka Flocka. You didn't become Waka Flocka all on your own. And we know that because your mama was the one that put you on in the first damn place. So I just kind of feel like Waka needs to sometimes shut up and listen. And he has a tendency not to be able to do that, especially if it's his wife that's talking to him. So Tammy has this nervous breakdown in her closet because she has to call and cancel the studio session because she just doesn't have it in her. And anybody who sings knows that if you emotionally and physically drained, don't even waste your time getting up there trying to sing, because you ain't going to do nothing but waste track. So you might as well just wait for her to get rested and go back in the studio and do what she have to do. But I just kind of feel like at the end of the day, you are her husband. It is your label, and I understand you spending a lot of money, but this is something that you decided to do. You wanted to be in artist management. You wanted to have artists on a record label and all of that. Well, you got to spend money sometimes, Waka. Okay? And I feel like his position is over her record label, and in their relationship, it bleeds over. And that's unfortunate because she doesn't need him to come at her neck. And he's coming at her neck when he is in record label, mindset. And then in a relationship mindset, you want to be all over her and trying to, bump nasty every 5 minutes. And ain't nobody in the mood for that. But either way, she had the nervous breakdown. And she normally has nervous breakdowns on her lonesome in her closet. But this time her manager was there and he was there with her and told her they just needed to get better organization on things. And she needs to prioritize what is most important for her so he will know how to schedule her. And when she talked to Deb, that was the same thing that Deb told her, except Deb slid in that she needed to prioritize Sunday dinners with the family. And it's just like, girl, Sundays is my days to sleep. Get out of my face. But I do understand that it's important for you to spend time with these people before they're gone. Okay, Tammy? So just think about how at the end of the day, you want to make your music and you want to be there for your kids and, you want to have time to sleep. You need to prioritize your life. And you're going to have to do it, hun. Nobody's going to be able to do it for you. Everybody thinks that Tammy was overreacting by cutting Charlie's braid out. I already told y'all I don't. I just don't. It was one braid. Calm the hell down. But Charlie got a little stank attitude with her, and Tammy makes her hug her and kiss her and get over it. I'm not about to go back and forth with people about Tammy's mothering, because I feel like Charlie looks like a very well-balanced, regular teenager. I think Tammy is doing a good job, and I think Tammy is being tough where she needs to be. Waka, I think, is providing all the love that little girl will need from a daddy, but he needs to understand that they are a united front. And just because you are not in the room when the punishment is given out does not mean you don't respect the punishment, because then you make her feel like she doesn't have to respect the punishment, meaning she doesn't have to respect her mother because you don't respect her mother. And that is not something you want to teach her, because she's going to grow up and get in relationships with men who may take care of her but disrespect the shit out of her. And Waka, you may want to put hands on these men for doing to your daughter what you do to her mother. So think about these things, Waka, because you don't have it all figured out. You just don't. Waka goes to talk to Tammy's mom before he tells her that he wants her to come to therapy with him. And they talk about her childhood and how, not only was her mom on drugs, but she was a light-skinned girl growing up in a neighborhood where she was bullied, picked on, and had to fight every day because she looked different. And y'all know how, little girls and little boys can be. It's a lot. So as she got older, she went from 0 to 100 much quicker because she got tired of people messing with her. And I think that's what Tammy is with Waka. I'm tired of you disregarding my feelings. I'm tired of you cheating on me. I'm tired of you dogging me out. Fuck you. I think that's how she feels. And I don't know why everybody gets mad at her for feeling that way. And I think it's so easy to tell her to leave him. But it's like, she did that already. She did that already. I think now it's just kind of like, it's going to be a minute before I upset my household again. That's probably how she feels. So Waka gets home. Y'all, he's so aggravating. Okay, she's trying to light a candle in the kitchen, and he blew the candle out just so he could relight it because he wanted to take it out of her hands and light it himself. Just, I swear to God, the type of stuff that make you want to stab him. Also, he can annoy her so that he can have sex with her, because apparently he sees that as just them playing, and that's his best friend. I'm like, no, you stressing her and aggravating her. Like, you need to massage somebody and tell him to go upstairs and take a bubble bath. That'll get you some puss. You sitting up here aggravating the shit out of me. That's supposed to make me want to have sex. Nigga, how old are you? Anyway, another thing that bothered me is him not wanting to show affection to Tammy in front of Charlie. Like, she needs to see that. I feel like that's so unnatural for people not to be affectionate around their children. You need to show your children that they should expect affection in relationships, okay? You don't need to show them sex, but kissing and hugging, you can definitely show your kids you kissing your wife, okay? You should show her that, because she is a girl child. She needs to know that men are supposed to be affectionate and not just in the bedroom, okay? He tells her about the therapist, and that the therapist said he pretty much has it all figured out, but he thinks that she should come on through and they should have a therapy session, and she doesn't want to go because she knows it's going to turn out to be about her, but he lies and says it's not about her. But they get to therapy, and guess what, y'all? It's about her and the way she talks to him. Tammy has daddy issues on top of that. Y'all know her daddy hasn't been around for 30 years because he's been in jail the whole time. And she feels like her past doesn't matter, so she never really wants to talk about anything. And Waka is affectionate, and I think Waka wants to talk about things, and she doesn't want to talk about things. I also think that Waka wants to now be all emotionally available now that he's done so much damage in their relationship and she's turned cold to him. So now he's feeling, the cold of her not being all there. And now he wants that from her, and that's hard for her to give him. And I think that at the end of the day, for people who feel like, oh, when's she gonna stop punishing him? I'm like, I guess whenever the fuck her heart tells her to, because you can't fuck over somebody over and over again and then tell them when to get over it. That's not how any of this works. When he said he made her stronger because he treated her badly, talking about, oh, Tammy's a beast. First of all, that's a part of the damn problem, Waka. You're talking about how she doesn't handle you as this demure woman, and then you're talking about how the more you hurt her, the more she turned into a beast. I'm like, what the hell is he talking about, y'all? He made me mad. He made me mad because he's just talking out of his ass. And then she talks about how she felt like she fought off a lot of demons for Waka. Like, he was in that lifestyle heavy, and she had to come in being this pristine woman in order for him to even really be paying attention like that. And then she have to fight off all of the things in his life that kept him from being healthy in a relationship with her. So it's just constantly been trials and tribulations throughout their whole relationship. And then they get into the conversation about the parenting. And it seems like it's something he didn't really want to talk about on television, but he doesn't like the way she parents. He feels like she's being strict now because she wasn't strict before when he was telling her to be strict. And I feel like it's very easy for somebody who, first of all, is not the biological parent, so you have not been there that little girl's entire life. And even within y'all relationship, whenever you and her broke up, her daughter went with her. So even though that is your daughter, that is your child, Waka, at the end of the day, that is Tammy's daughter and biological child, and that trumps your position every time. So the fact that you think it's okay to tell her how to be a parent when you have never had to be with that little girl just by yourself for a long period of time, it's bullshit. And nobody wants to hear it from you, because you can't talk about how good of a parent you are when there's always somebody else there to do the parenting when you go out to act like a kid. You know, like, it's just ridiculous. And they try to have a moment where they gain something from the conversation. But once they get in the car, you know, we realize that it's all bullshit, because he believes his own bullshit. He believes his own hype that he's so smart and he's so great and she the one with the problem. And it's just not the case at all. And I think that a lot of people in his life read that same bullshit back to him. And it's exhausting. And I can't even tell you why they still together. I can't. I like Waka and I like Tammy and I like them together. But there's a lot that needs to be talked about and dealt with the both of them. And if you're going to get your ass on television and do therapy and talk about your relationship over and over and over again, I need y'all to get to a point where y'all either going to do this shit or y'all not going to do this shit. But stop playing pussy, okay? Because I feel like that's what they always doing. Oh, don't talk about this on camera. Yeah, let's sign on for another television show. Y'all done went from loving hip-hop to growing up hip-hop, and now y'all got this show by yourself. Obviously, you want to talk about your relationship on television. Obviously, that's a sacrifice you're willing to make for a check. And I'm not mad at you for it. That's your decision. I like watching y'all relationship. But what I'm not about to do is keep watching y'all complain about shit y'all signing up to do. Okay? Because I heard Tammy talking about the camera in her face all the time. It's like, but you signed up to do it. Okay? You didn't have a show for a while and you decided to do the show. You know, I guess y'all had bills to pay. I'm not I'm not judging, but I'm just saying. Okay, I ain't about to go through this with y'all. Anyway, y'all, that was Marriage Bootcamp and Waka and Tammy. It's going to be a long-ass video. Normally, I would put this in 2 different videos, but I don't feel like it. So it's going to be one big video. Hope y'all enjoy. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I love y'all. Follow me on Instagram at BondyBLue. Peace out.